In the horological world, it's the high-end luxury timepieces that tend to receive the majority of the attention, and for good reason. While most individuals directly equate a watch's overall value with its price, the reality is there's no shortage of absolutely stellar references that can be acquired for a reasonable sum. And although there are certain attributes of a watch's intrinsic build characteristic that provide the bulk of its price, softer metrics like the maker's heritage and market supply and demand also play a significant role, much like any other commodity trading hands within the free market. Consequently, uncovering stylish, reputable, and budget-friendly references can be a monumentally difficult task. In an effort to aid in your search, we put together our own list of what we consider to be the top 5 best affordable watches under $500. From divers to field watches to GMTs, this curated list of sub-$500 timepieces is sure to contain a watch that will resonate with your personal wants, needs, and style, and without taking too big of a hit on your checking account. Precise, robust, and rated at 10, or X in Roman numerals, atmospheres of depth, the aptly named Tissot PRX 35mm consists of a 70s-inspired industrial design that's been reimagined and bestowed with an unmistakably modern flair. And it's this synthesis of old-school styling and the convenience of modern mechanics that make the PRX 35mm our first pick. The smaller 35mm case size is one of the only notable differentiations from the 40mm also found on the PRX line. However, since the same elements that made the 40mm so popular are also integrated into the 35, they're worth recapping if you're not yet familiar with previous PRX releases. The 35mm spec PRX is kept ticking via the same Swiss Quartz ETA F05.115 movement as its 40mm counterpart, complete with a battery end-of-life indicator. Sitting beneath the scratch-resistant sapphire crystal is a simple yet bold dial, equipped with bright-set superluminova hour and minute hands, loomed hour markers, and a clean date window at the 3 o'clock. Boasting 100 meters of water resistance and aided by the T-Classic embossed screw-down crown, the PRX 35mm has taken the success of the 40mm version and shrunk it down perfectly without leaving any of the hallmark qualities behind. The Tissot PRX 35mm features a new but slightly smaller 35mm case, with a slimmer thickness profile of 9.6mm. Outfitted with a brushed case back, the brushed 316L stainless steel case with an integrated bracelet pairs well with a fixed high polished bezel and the 39mm lug-to-lug dimension and a lug width of 11mm, making this a great choice for anyone with a smaller wrist size. The sharp absence of well-defined lugs is a hallmark of this case design, with a crisp and unbroken horizontal line where the case meets the flat-linked integrated bracelet, truly unlike anything else currently available on the market. And in case you're worried the middling 35mm size may be too small, the current Tissot PRX collection does feature two 40mm references, each with a different movement, along with a separate 42mm chronograph reference that maintains the same case profile and bracelet styling. The push-button butterfly clasp is Tissot's bread and butter, and the straightforward single-link bracelet design feels surprisingly conforming on the wrist. Although the bracelet is technically interchangeable via a quick-release mechanism, we really do think the stealthy 70s-inspired default is best left as is, since it emphatically adds to the unique silhouette. But like our other coverage of Tissot's butterfly clasp design, we still firmly believe a simpler locking mechanism here may make more sense given the utilitarian nature of this everyday style watch, which is the angle the Swiss watchmaker has taken when marketing this timepiece. And although its distinctiveness could arguably add to the nostalgia behind the PRX 35mm by giving it a further old-school feel, we think that, given the liberties taken with the modern styling, Tissot could have integrated a quicker design without sacrificing the watch's charm. At the heart of the watch is a Swiss-made Quartz ETA F05.115 movement with a battery end-of-life indicator and date complication at the 3 o'clock, which is the same movement found in the 40mm reference that debuted the modern PRX line. Nothing uniquely special about this caliber for the price, so we'll keep moving along. Though available in 5 dial colorways, the light blue-gray reference is our top pick for an understated yet versatile presentation that still maintains a decent amount of character when stacked up against the more traditional dark blue and green dial options. When examined closely, we're really drawn to the dial's subtle sunray-like texture, as well as the bold-set, hard-edged dial text. It's a decision that makes sense in the context of the reimagined modern design and the 70s inspiration. The subtle dial texture links the fully brushed stainless steel case design and the dial with similar finishes that feel uniquely cohesive. The inset superluminova minute and hour hands are beveled at the corners without looking too sharp or pointed and maintain a good overall balance of distinctiveness and unity when rotating past the sharper and thinner rectangular loomed indices. So if you were already a big fan of the reimagined 40mm PRX that debuted first, but were waiting for a smaller and slimmer form factor with all the same design cues and mechanics, we think the Tissot PRX 35mm is an excellent choice for a great gotta, go anywhere, do anything kind of watch. And at only $375, you can rest easy that it won't break the bank. We'd hazard a guess that anyone who's familiar with the Seiko 5 would be lying if they denied having been tempted to modify their own Seiko purchase or pick up a reference modified by somebody else. Seeing that the line is less a specific model reference and more of an ecosystem with dozens of Seiko 5 references and easily swappable parts, aesthetic changes to the watch's dial, bezel, case, or strap are all abundant, affordable, and readily available. The addition of the GMT complication, however, is one of the more involved modifications, though it remains a sought-after addition to the already well-loved Seiko 5 lineup. Ever attentive, the release of the Seiko 5 Sports SKX GMT takes the archetype and elevates it, with an automatic GMT complication with mechanical winding, all while sporting the same external character users have come to love. Dimensionally inspired by the Seiko's SKX references, the 42.5mm case size sports a lug-to-lug of 46mm, a 22mm lug width, a thickness of 13.6mm, and clocks in at 148 grams on the wrist, specs that are incredibly similar to that of the SKX 007, for example. The bidirectional and bicolor 24-hour rotating bezel screams dive watch, but we noticed it does lack the typical but distinctive clicks present in most divers on the market. It smoothly rotates, without any clicks or audible indications as to the amount of movement made. Should the numerical values get damaged with use, the bezel's position without the clicks could become completely arbitrary. And although the watch has sporty diver styling and markets a water resistance of 100 meters, the off-centered push-pull crown at the 4 o'clock would still make us a little wary of taking the Seiko 5 Sports GMT into the water repeatedly. Despite the standard movement now boasting an added GMT complication, we like the added interest of the exhibition caseback, putting the 24 jewel caliber 4R34 movement on full display, rather than opting for a standard screw-down stainless steel caseback. The classic 5-row Jubilee stainless steel bracelet of the Seiko 5 GMT is either loved or hated. Critics complain of a cheap, overly flexible feel, a byproduct of including more rows, while fans usually vocalize the opposite, stating that the 5-row construction provides a high level of comfort, a costly, more rigid third-party option may in turn sacrifice. With fixed end links and 2 levels of high polish for added interest on the wrist, and a simple clasp design, the bracelet is a decent budget option that we tend to like, even if divisive. But if you'd rather trade for something more laid back, like a rubber, silicone, or NATO strap, the bracelet quickly unlocks, allowing you to modify as needed with 22mm third-party options. As the name suggests, the Seiko 5 Sports GMT's most notable addition is the movement, utilizing a Seiko caliber 4R34 with an automatic GMT complication and mechanical winding. It's worth emphasizing that this release is groundbreaking in terms of affordability and availability, as the market has yet to see an unlimited run of an aptly priced automatic movement with a GMT, especially from a heritage brand like Seiko. Positioning the push-pull crown at the innermost point and rotating isolates the bright red GMT hand, which moves independently, differing from Traveler GMTs where the hour hand moves instead. Sure, this may not be the true GMT enthusiasts prefer, but at the Seiko 5 GMT's price, an office variant shouldn't matter. And seeing that the inclusion of a GMT complication was the highlight of this release, you may have sacrificed precise timekeeping with the 4R34 caliber. At plus 45 to minus 35 seconds daily rate at normal operating temperature, we can't really consider this a precise machine by any metrics. However, at a sub $500 price point for a mechanical GMT, you can't in good faith complain about the watch's accuracy or value, seeing that the 4R34 is included in previous non-GMT releases. Fortified beneath a Hardlex face, a Seiko Sapphire alternative is a stark black dial with giant loomed indices, classic large Lumibright hands, a bright white date window at the 3 o'clock beneath a thick-set Cyclops, and red reference text above the 6 o'clock, marking the inclusion of the new GMT, in case you somehow missed the 4th bright red-tipped hand. The black dial variant here feels traditional, like the original SKX release, while being easily readable regardless of the setting thanks to its high level of contrast. But with that being said, the dial is also offered in deep blue and a vivid orange. So then, if you're a jet-setter, corporate hustler, flat-out fan of the Japanese brand, or have long considered modding your existing timepiece to keep track of your time zones, the Seiko 5 Sports SKX GMT is certainly the best option on the market. Often touted as the watch enthusiast's best first timepiece thanks to its Swiss build, top-notch mechanical construction, and accessible price point under $500, the Hamilton Khaki Field Mechanical 38mm is a fantastic, affordable cornerstone for growing your collection. Hamilton's military heritage remains at the forefront as the 38mm mechanical has stayed true to its trademarks, from the middling size to the earth tone NATO straps to the stark 24-hour dial enclosed in a rugged matte finish case, all of which were present on iterations decades past. And originally designed with life-saving utility in mind, the modern Hamilton Khaki Field Mechanical 38mm is a rugged, utilitarian, and for the purposes of this guide, affordable choice with a sub $500 MSRP. Let's dive in. The Hamilton Khaki Field Mechanical features a durable stainless steel case that boasts 50 meters of water resistance, a 58-gram weight, a 9.5mm thickness, and a 20mm lug width that affords an enormous variety of bands and bracelets from both Hamilton and a slew of aftermarket brands. With that said, the Field Watch comes outfitted with the default NATO strap. Although the case size is small on paper, the lengthy 47mm lug-to-lug dimension feels like the watch wears closer to a 40mm when viewed on the wrist from above, even for our wrists clocking in a touch under 8 inches for context. It's one of the very few polarizing aspects, mostly by wearers with shorter wrist measurements. A key characteristic of this field watch is also a slim profile, with its thickness of just 9.5mm, directly correlating to the space-saving mechanical construction at the heart of the movement, but more on that later. And as an added bonus, although a deviation from the original heritage styling, the current Hamilton Khaki Field Mechanical 38mm offers a variety of different case finishing options like a PVD black, matte bronze, and Hamilton's unique earth-colored PVD coating, all of which is complemented via a riveted H-branded push-pull crown at the 3 o'clock. And like the different case options, the Khaki Field Mechanical also offers several colors of 20mm NATO straps with leather strap loops and pin buckles, another cue of the Field Watch style. And if you're not a fan of the textile look, you can pick up one of a dozen full-grain leather options or opt for something as non-conventional as a rubber strap, since the 20mm lug width makes finding third-party options a breeze. We like the standard OD green NATO for its reminiscence, making it feel distinctly true to Hamilton's ethos. While lightweight and breathable, the strap feels premium with a nice thickness that's sure to form fit to the wrist comfortably over time with regular use. What's more, the leather outlined hole punches will be sure to keep the strap in good standing over time without any rips or tears. Diving into one of the key selling points of this watch is the H50 mechanical movement, an exclusive in-house 27-jewel fully analog caliber designed by Hamilton based on the ETA 2801-2 for full self-winding capability. Boasting a whopping 80 hours of power reserve, enough to sustain about 3 full days per wind, this outwardly reserved 38mm packs an impressive internal punch. Lastly, the plain black dial serves as a high contrast background for the white applied numerals set straight onto the dial itself. Not only does this provide great visibility via the value contrast, but without the use of highly raised numerals for each hour marker, the hour and the minute hands can actually sit lower under the sapphire crystal, another area that's allowed for the watch's overall thin profile. In the dark, the lume that's inset on the hour and the minute hands, as well as the triangular hour markers, glows bright at first, but doesn't hold its luminosity for very long, fading quicker than would be ideal. Additionally, although bright white in contrast against the dark dial for a great visibility in the daylight, the Arabic numerals are not loomed like the 12-hour indices, decreasing the overall utility in low-light situations. However, if this is a deal breaker, the 38mm automatic references feature lume numerals with fully stainless steel or titanium case construction. Boasting a mechanical-only catalog and having just released the first reference only 4 years ago, microbrand Laurier has an impressive and scrappy origin story. With only 2 references at the core of its offerings, the Laurier Neptune Series 4 is the brand's latest revamp of its flagship classics-inspired diver, presenting a viable and markedly accessible alternative to more iconic luxury dive watches on the market, like the Rolex Submariner 6538 and the Omega Seamaster. Fulfilling that promise, the Laurier Neptune is an homage that's been nothing but well received in the horology space. At $500, the Laurier Neptune Series 4 has improved with each iteration, increasingly punching well above its weight thanks to the implementation of customer feedback in order to craft what we consider to be the single best dive watch that's currently sold below $500. At 39mm wide, a lug-to-lug of 46mm, a 20mm lug width, and total thickness of 12.7mm, we argue that these could be near-perfect proportions for a diver. The 39mm width feels aptly sized for most wearers, including our own wrist at 8 inches. The lug-to-lug of 46mm doesn't overpower the wrist while still maintaining its presence, and the aforementioned 20mm lug width makes finding other straps as easy as it gets. Affording 200 meters of water resistance, the full marine grade 316L stainless steel build and screw down crown check all the boxes for a modern dive watch, an area already further aided by the 120 click unidirectional bezel and durable domed tessellite crystal. It's softer than sapphire, sure, but cheaper and easier to correct if damaged, while staying true to mid-century materials, which could come in handy for any watch that's being worn on a regular basis. The 1-hour loomed acrylic bezel is an ode to Bakelite bezels of the past, thin, stark, with only 5 10-minute markers and loomed Arabic numerals, loomed indices at the 5-minute markers, and one inverted triangle loomed index at the 60-minute mark. When compared to modern counterparts like the Tudor Black Bay 58 released after the V1 Neptune, the screw-down crown of the Laurier Neptune in proportion to the overall case is quite large. Seeing as the Neptune Mark IV is a dive watch by design with a 200-meter water resistance and a screw-down crown, we assume having more real estate to grip in order to securely tighten down the crown was more of a utilitarian choice. However, we also like how the large proportion differentiates the overall silhouette of the case when it's stacked up against pricier Swiss-made rivals. The fully brushed 20mm stainless steel bracelet tapers down to 16mm near the clasp and reminds us of a less angular version of the bracelet that we found on the Oris Pro Pilot Excalibur 400 series. Updates to the Mark IV included more rounded links for added comfort on wrist and thinner dimensions for a lighter, thinner wear, attributes that we could see affording all-day comfort, making the watch a great choice for daily use. Fitting up to 8-inch wrists, the bracelet provides a trio of micro-adjustment slots for a fine-tuned fit, which come in handy for dialing in the comfort level, especially when you consider that your wrist actually varies in size throughout the day. Additionally, the bracelet feels smooth, produces very minimal amounts of noise, and the links don't get stuck on top of each other, like the bracelet on the Oris Excalibur, which became stuck more than once during the time we spent testing it. The 20mm lug width here was a fantastic choice for incorporating other strap options. As much as you'd assume a choice like this was a no-brainer, even heritage brands like Omega with the Seamaster Aquaterra 150 chose to outfit with a 19mm lug width, making it extremely difficult to find third-party options, truly limiting an everyday situation and hugely mitigating versatility and therefore value. Moving on to the Neptune's mechanics, the three-hander is powered by a Miyota 90S5 automatic movement. Officially rated for -10 to +30 seconds per day, Laurier chose a premium movement with space-saving capabilities to evolve the design of their flagship watch, switching from the Seiko NH series 2 years after the New York brand's first iteration. An uber-smooth second-hand sweep is also a byproduct of the higher beat rate of the movement. The manner in which the hand moves feels unmistakably premium when viewed on the wrist. What's more, the Miyota 90S5 is also utilized for keeping the hands higher above the dial, as its clearance allows substantial bubble-like applications of lume, a trait always welcome on any dive watch. And as a last note here, Laurier warns that the rotor's decibel level may be audible as a result of the movement, but in our experience this detail was hardly perceivable, even in quiet environments. Traditionally styled, the dial of the Laurier Neptune harkens back to a markedly mid-century design with a deep stark black dial, gold-framed indices, and bright Superluminova BGW 9-hour markers, and hands with high-polished edges. At 3, 6, 9, and 12 o'clock, Laurier utilized similar inverted triangle indices pointing towards the center of the dial, with generous amounts of lume and circular shapes at the cardinal points. If we were to come up with any criticism here, and criticism is a stretch, it would probably stem from the Redux style design. That said, since the Neptune's intent is an accessible homage to classic mid-century divers by using old-school materials and design cues from vanguards like Omega, Rolex, and Tudor, we feel the intention must factor into the critique. So minor notes aside, we're excited to see what Laurier has on the horizon, specifically the Series 2 Hyperion, a GMT, the Gemini, a Just-Style Zephyr reference, and the Astra, a new 36mm model marketed as the Datejust to the Falcon's Explorer. Moving on, and as the only chronograph on our list, the Zodiac Grandrally Quartz is the brand's only sub-$500 offering, and it takes our pick as the best chronograph to do so. A thoroughly impressive feat considering the immense popularity of chronos sold for less than $50,000. The Zodiac Grandrally Quartz is another homage piece on our list, fusing elements from the dashboards of iconic racing machines and from other track-inspired chronograph references that preceded the Grandrally, like the Heuer Autavia, now Tag Heuer, the Porsche Design Chronograph 1, and the fairly recent Dan Henry 1972. With 3 colorways, a plethora of strap options, an affordable quartz movement, and retro cool styling, there's a justifiable laundry list of reasons that the Zodiac Grandrally Quartz takes our pick as the best chronograph under $500. The rounded rectangular stainless steel case or barrel design clocks in at 41mm in width, 48mm lug-to-lug, sports an accommodating 20mm lug width, and is approximately 14mm thick, including the dome sapphire crystal. The majority of the main case features a vertical brush finish, matched with high polished dark warm gray on the bezel, a Zodiac branded push-pull crown, and bezeled chronograph start-stop pushers that add nice contrast to the overall appearance. Flipping the watch over, the screw-down case back features Zodiac's logo and high polish, with concentric brush circles stamped to denote the Swiss Quartz movement and the 100-meter water resistance rating. While we maintain that the dark gray high polished bezel provides nice contrast and a layered cadence between the brushed stainless steel case and the dial, we could see how this may not hold up great over time to scratches, scuffs, or even fingerprints, most likely revealing a bare gray steel underneath. With an uber convenient 20mm lug width, swapping out the strap for the Zodiac Grandrally Quartz will be a great bullet point to keep in mind, as the sporty overall nature of the chrono could certainly suit a wide variety of settings. The default matte black leather band for the track, a rubber or NATO strap for a casual day out or night at the bar, or a brushed stainless steel bracelet for the office, weddings, and more formal events, the list goes on. Seen here, the black leather strap utilizes a series of hole punches for enhanced breathability, which also reveal exciting red inner detail between the outer and the inner surfaces, adding some visual flair while keeping its utility. 8 buckle punches provide flexible sizing for a wide range of wrist sizes, our wearer with an 8-inch wrist comfortably having about half left over for reference. With a brushed stainless steel Zodiac branded buckle to match the case, we think this moto-inspired strap is the option that best taps into the zeitgeist of the watch. Moving on to the movement, before exacting judgment for the Quartz spec included in the name, this is currently Zodiac's only sub-$500 watch, so you really can't be too picky here, especially when you consider the fact that you're getting a chrono from a bona fide luxury brand. In short, what you get is extreme value, as the movement of the Grandrally is a Swiss-made quartz chronograph ISA 8371, as Zodiac timepieces are currently produced and assembled using Swiss-made parts in Bienne, Switzerland under the Fossil Group. And seeing as it's a quartz-powered chronograph, you can rest easy tossing it around or using it as an everyday wear piece without having to worry about power or losing a fair amount of time per day, which is to say the Zodiac Grandrally Quartz is a low-maintenance investment. This variant of the Zodiac Grandrally Quartz features a woven textured black dial, 2 sub-dials, a framed date window with a 6 o'clock, loomed and polished indices, and a clock speed, a brushed stainless steel tachymeter chapter ring between the bezel and the outer case. With 2 sub-dials of concentric grooved rings, the 30-minute counter has a unique red hand and matching indices, while the 60-second counter contrasts with clean white details against a gray backdrop. Keep in mind that the color of these hands will change with the overall colorway of the reference chosen, of which there are a few. And seeing as the dial is as busy as it gets, we appreciate a subtle detail easy to miss. The hour and the minute hands are fully framed in black. When viewed from the top against the black dial, they look far slimmer in width than they actually are until they sweep over the contrasting light gray dial when the black outline really pops. In our opinion, a smart choice here by Zodiac. So to bring it to a verdict, if you've been searching for a trusty, everyday friendly, low maintenance moto-inspired chronograph with Swiss-made construction at less than $500, the Zodiac Grandrally Quartz is the obvious choice.